This week on Quadriga, destination Germany, land of false hope. They're putting their hopes in Germany. Hundreds of thousands of refugees are coming here to escape war and persecution and to find a better life. But it's getting harder to reach Europe in safety. A growing number of countries are closing borders to migrants and tightening asylum laws. Those who do make it to Germany find a bureaucracy groaning under the strain and increasingly outright hostility, especially after the Cologne sex attacks. Will Germany live up to the hopes of those seeking refuge, or are Germans and refugees alike heading for disappointment? Coming to you from Berlin, Quadriga, the international debate. Your host this week, Peter Craven.
Yes, hello, and a very warm welcome indeed to this latest edition of Quadriga, coming to you from the heart of the German capital. Now, in the last year or so, Germany has taken in more than 1 million refugees, and many are still arriving. Initially, of course, they were welcomed with open arms, and the world looked on largely approvingly. But the mood now is beginning to turn, and the question we're asking here today on Quadriga is this: is Germany, for the refugees, a land of false hope? And to discuss that question, I'm joined here in the studio by three analysts and experts who are going to discuss it with me. Let me introduce them to you without any further ado, beginning with Amir Musawy, who is the German correspondent for Iraqia TV. And Amir says, when you close borders, you only tackle a symptom and not the problem. Europe has to face up to the causes of the crisis. Malaiz Daud also joins us. He's a political analyst from Afghanistan who's also a former chief of staff to the current Afghan President Ashraf Gahni. Malaiz says Germany offers something never seen before to many refugees, but some asylum seekers still seem to harbour unrealistic expectations, so it's high time to manage those expectations. And a very warm welcome goes also to our own Deutsche Welle's own Maissun Melhem. Born in Syria, she came to Germany about 10 years ago, and for DW she has reported widely on the refugee crisis. Maissun believes that after the recent cases of sexual harassment in Cologne, the atmosphere in Germany is now toxic, as she puts it. What we need, she says, is a constructive debate on how best to integrate the migrants. And Maissun, I would like to begin with you, if I might. A lot of people, many people have been coming in the last year or so to Germany from your country, from war-torn Syria. Do they still now, the people that are arriving, the people that are already here, view Germany as the promised land or a promised land, or is it more complex than that?
Well, it is. It is still the place and the land of milk and honey, as I said before. It's a promised land where they might find shelter and might find perspectives for the future. The debate that we are having now in Germany about asylum seekers, about what happened in Cologne at the New Year's Eve, and about the isolation of Angela Merkel, these are things that comes to this audience or to these people only with small amounts because they don't speak the language of this country yet. At the first place, they just want to leave this miserable reality they are suffering from in Syria and Iraq and Afghanistan, whatever, in the Middle East, and find a new place and a new start in a secure country with some good chances of a better future. That's it, how they think.
And when you have been out and out, talking to people who have arrived in Germany for Deutsche Welle, when you've been doing reports, do people give you the impression that they believe that they're getting a fair deal from Germany?
Well, more or less. They even had the illusion, I might say, or the delusion, because it's not a welcoming. It was, in my opinion, it was not a welcoming sign. It wasn't an invitation from Germany. Come to us. It was dealing with the humanitarian drama which was taking place in the summer. But they have this feeling. They had this feeling that Germany is a country which is seeking some people to. Workers, maybe people to work, people to
solve their problems, to solve Germany's problems,
even demographic problems. And they are these people which Germany is expecting. That's what they have in mind right now.
Amir, you come from Iraq originally, you were born in Baghdad. Do you have a personal stake in this story?
Absolutely. There is two differences of the reaction of the people there. Some of them, they are following the news, what's going on in Germany, just from their interest. And there is another group which they are really interested to get steps to go to the long way to Germany. But there is some concern about that. People, they think, okay, it's not really what we think, what we said, what we saw in the social media. It's the changing atmosphere. It's already now well known in Iraqi society. And beside of this, if we talk about the people, for example, in Mosul, under the IS control, they really would like to go outside from this city, and where they will...
Understandably, of course.
They will not be able to survive in Kurdistan because the cost of the living is very high. They don't have any jobs and so on. They will see Germany as the safe exit for them, and still they will agree to have some attack from the right or something like this, or staying along 2-3 days just to get the registration. They will accept this because what they have now already is really bad.
You're nodding, Malaiz.
No, that's true. I mean, if you see it comparatively, you are either staying in your own country, where the biggest problem is the lack of stability. You wake up in the morning, you don't know what is going to happen to you, both in terms of job security, physical security, and that's a challenge. So, or you go to the neighboring countries, Pakistan, Iran, in case of Afghanistan at least, and there you don't have all the benefits that you get in this country. And I'm not only talking about the financial benefits. There are lots of moral advantages that this country is offering. That's the freedom, that's the liberty. Like a Shia, for example, in Pakistan, has a much bigger chance of being persecuted than in Germany. So why not try Germany? And Afghans have a much longer history of immigration. So they have all these established networks, and they know what country is going to serve them the best at what point.
I'm fascinated. You're all telling me that obviously refugees who are fleeing war-torn countries, people who are fleeing troubled countries, are happy and are glad to arrive in Germany. But what you're telling me provides a backdrop for something else that is happening in Germany. At the moment, there's an awful lot of blame that the refugees and the asylum seekers are being blamed for rising crime, for rising rents, for the bureaucracy here in Germany being overstretched. Do you understand that blame coming from the German side?
No, of course. I mean, look, the bureaucratic infrastructure wasn't there to all of a sudden digest 1 million plus refugees. So, of course, that's a challenge. And still, what I see is not only the German state, the German society has responded in an exemplary way. I have examples of some refugee centers where they have told people not to bring clothes, not to bring stuff for the refugees. So that's, I mean, people talk about Pegida and so on and so forth, but what the positive news rarely makes it into the mainstream media. And this is the positive side. It is a challenge, and of course, the kind of people that come there would be criminals, and too, that there will be tendencies that impinge upon the freedoms and liberties in this country, like the Köln attack. It doesn't mean these things will not happen, because again, I'm talking from my experience from my country, my society, not talking about anyone else here. We are a highly misogynistic country. Women in different attires, especially if there's some skin showing, are going to be targeted in my country because they're simply seen as loose, you know? They're not seen within the bounds of a moral code that they have. So these kind of problems will come up. And to be honest, some of us had foreseen these problems. There was only the need for this trigger, which the Köln happened, for the German public opinion to turn. There could be ways to tackle this, but it didn't happen.
But you know, people from Muslim countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, Iraq, and many other Muslim countries have been living here for the last 30 years at least.
Good point.
And we never heard of something like that. Did it raise any question in your mind or in the minds of anyone?
Again, from the experience of the Afghans, in the past 30, 40 years, we had our elites who came out. And then back then, these elites were extremely liberal. They were already kind of integrated in the Western society because they came for studies here, they had links here. But Afghanistan today is much more different.
Well, this counts to Afghanistan, but we have other people.
No, I'm not talking about others. I'm talking.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying only Afghans, because I can only talk for what is going on within the Afghan community here and the Afghans there. Like, if you look at my family, it's way more different. Though I've just come like 4 years ago to Germany, way more different than so many of other families who've come here. I'm not saying everyone, but there are pockets of people who would look at my wife or look at my sister and say, oh, this is immoral, you know, what she's doing. She's in public. She's got bare legs. So that would happen. And there are people like that who've come here.
I heard some statements from some German politicians that they argue that the refugees should be bring in a kind of integrating course just to learn them how to behave with the women, something like this. To be honest, this is ridiculous inside the Iraqi society because most of the men, they know how they should behave with a woman, especially in Arab countries, and they don't need someone to tell them how is the correct way. The right answer of this question, of this discussion, is you should look who is doing this and from which kind of family he come from. And you cannot make a general suspicious about all the refugees.
OK, let's talk about that point in just a second. Let's talk about, we've got to go to Cologne. We've got to talk about what happened in Cologne, in the city of Cologne on New Year's Eve. But first of all, just a general question. Give me a short answer. When people come to Germany, when refugees and asylum seekers come to Germany from the countries where you have your roots or from North Africa or wherever at the moment, what expectations can they have? What expectations can they justifiably have from Germany and the Germans? Maissun.
Well, I think they come to a place where they can find security at the first hand, and when they find a better chance for the future, where their kids might go to schools without the danger of being bombed from the air, like what's happening now in Syria, and where they can live their religious and cultural themselves without being persecuted only because they are Shia or Sunnah or whatever, because it's a rural society.
We do not forget the health insurance services, the better quality of life, the free of movement through the passport, German passport or German travel document. These things bring them to get this point to come to Germany, and not forget to get the freedom to behave in the religious questions, because they are under pressure in their countries, and that's why we see here there is a lot of Salafists, for example, here in Germany.
Safety, freedom,
and basic securities, physical security, employment, the opportunity to go to school.
But these are all structural things. What should people, refugees and asylum seekers in Germany, expect from the Germans as people in their social interaction, in their cultural interaction?
Solidarity. I mean, understanding.
That's a good answer.
Understanding we are all diverse. This world is diverse. I mean, look at Singapore. It's like one of the most diverse countries on earth when it comes to religions and culture and so on and so forth. And it's doing pretty well. And one of the reasons, for example, there's this book, American Century, in which the author claims one of the reasons why China is not going to catch up US is because of lack of diversity. It's only one ethnicity, whereas the US brings all the other ethnic groups and nationalities inside, and there's more innovation. And that's what Germany could use this as a huge opportunity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Malaiz is making a very, very important point here. I'm not sure that everybody here in Germany is necessarily listening because, according to a recent survey, about two-thirds of Germans said that they believe that the number of asylum seekers here in Germany, the number of refugees, is already too high. There are people who are calling for a ceiling. There are people calling for caps on the number of people coming to Germany and for borders to be closed, which is something that is happening elsewhere in Europe already. Let's have a look.
This is a border where there shouldn't be one. A new fence separates Austria and Slovenia, though both countries are members of the Schengen zone. In an attempt to reduce the number of refugees, the frontiers have been strengthened. Those who have no documents will no longer be allowed to enter the country. The Austrian government has also set a limit on how many people in total it will take in. No more than 37,500 this year. That number is likely to be reached by the summer. Austria says it can do no more. Will more of Europe close its borders? Will Germany follow Austria's example?
Malaiz, what do you say after what you've just been telling me about diversity? Should Germany close its borders?
No, of course not. I mean, at one point...
But it's what most Germans want.
Yeah, that's political... Like, the political expediency is a different thing. The politicians will just look at the next 5 years, you know, how am I going to get into the office? And that's a huge challenge. But if there are people who can tell the German people that by 2050, half of your population will have a refugee background, then it's a different dynamic, you know. At one point, Germany, to be honest, I mean, looking around Europe, if you look at the UK, Germany is still lagging behind when it comes to not integration, you know, to creating this diversity that could be extremely beneficial for the German society. So closing the borders is not going to help. And I can tell you from the Afghan experience, we always find a way to get into this country. We always find a way to get into other countries. And we've been quite productive. Like the Afghans, I don't know, for the past 3 years, we've been on the top when it comes to higher education in this country. So you're using our capabilities and capacities. And that's amazing. And I'm pretty sure that other refugees can also...
Amir, do you buy into this vision of diversity in a present-day Germany where two-thirds of the people in Germany are saying that they would like to see the border closed?
I think, yes, they should not close the borders, but with the conditions that this chance will be used from the politician and put programs to gain this chance as a profit for the German economy and to have this diversity, not just to open the door and invite someone to come in and you cannot offer for him nothing. That will be very heavy for you, and Chancellor Merkel will going to pay very highly if this integration process is really not going to work.
Yeah, but you're talking about integration courses. There are many, many Germans who are saying, and German politicians as well, who are saying that the children who have already arrived here should not be taught German because they'll begin to feel that this country is home, and that especially the fathers who have arrived in Germany should not be reunited with their wives and children. They should not be allowed to come to Germany. That's a very different picture from what you're portraying.
Well, but it comes from the right wing, something like this. Well, let's hope that not everyone in Germany is thinking like this. We need these children here in Germany. At least the children, we need them in this to build the country, because, you know, we are in a country which is not bringing as much children as it needs. And I don't think it's very necessary to talk about closing the German border, because as soon as Austria closes its border, nobody is arriving more to Germany. Let's face reality.
The trajectory may be changing. I know public opinion may be changing, but if you look at the depth that this country has, you've got to have people who, with this kind of strategic thinking, saying, OK, we have to do something about this, you know, because we cannot take this public opinion seriously. It's damaging this country, not only domestically, but also internationally. Mm-hmm. You know, the kind of publicity that Germany has got from what you've done so far, mm-hmm. It's incredible. And that goodwill is important, because internationally you will project yourself one day.
If you close the border, that you have the domino effect. Mm-hmm. You will just transport the problem for other country through other country, and the Greek will going to suffer from mm-hmm. this problem. Mm-hmm. I think they should tackle the problem inside the country, in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan, rather than to find some solutions here to close the... I think the version of Miss Merkel is really for the long term, exactly. Not for the 3 years. But if we think that the German society is really going to need new blood in this society, then the German Chancellor is in the right direction in this. But I insist about the integration of these chances in the society inside Germany.
Can I have a word on integration? You've done it wrong all the way. For example, one of the things you keep saying is language. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. I've paid taxes for the past 4 years in this country. I don't speak German almost at all. But I do well, you know. I'm studying, I'm working in 2 places. It's all fine. So what you're getting here is not the Germans are very adamant when it comes to language. Learn the language, everything will be fine. Well, there are lots of Salafists in this country who speak perfect German. But no, not everything is fine with them.
OK, more of the positive vision from Malaiz there, but we need to talk about something that has been very complex, much discussed here in Germany in the last month or so. Since New Year's Eve, there were scenes in the city of Cologne on New Year's Eve and elsewhere in Germany that led to literally hundreds of women here filing complaints with the police for cases of sexual harassment and even sexual assault. Let's just have a look at how people have been reacting to that, and then we'll talk quickly about it.
Cologne's Kalk district is home to a large community of immigrants from northern Africa. The people here are horrified by the New Year's Eve attacks, but they're also angry that they're being blamed as a group.
If there's concrete evidence against Arabs, they should be brought to court. But don't just accuse Arabs or Muslims. Accuse individuals. It's not about religion, nationality, or origin.
Karim Haji tells us that a few days ago, 3 German construction workers spit at him and called him racist names.
Das ist das erste Mal, dass mir wirklich sowas Explizites passiert ist.
That's the first time I've experienced something like this.
Das ist kein schönes Gefühl.
And it wasn't nice.
Ich bin hier
I was
geboren,
born
bin
here and grew up here. I had nothing to do with what happened on New Year's Eve.
Was in der Silvesternacht passiert ist.
A group of students has gathered at the train station where the attacks took place. Their families come from North Africa, and the young people want to send a clear signal. They're handing out flowers to passers-by, a small gesture against the new fear and prejudice.
Amir, what's it like being a man of Iraqi origin in Germany at this point in time?
They shamed really to hear this in kind of news. Really, it is not Islamic. It is not also Arabic tradition that you attacking a woman in this kind.
But if you read the German press at the moment, the sense is that there's a huge problem with Muslim men. That is the message we're getting.
Yeah, this is the responsibility of the media. They should really make a difference of what. Not generalizing all the Muslims or the Arabs or Moroccanians. Look, they talk about Moroccanians. Okay, Moroccanian said this is Algerian. The Algerian said this is Tunisian, and so on. You know, the individual, it's in the end individual, and you should not blame him, all the group, because of 2 or 3 people. Beside of this, the Iraqi, what I heard from my groups, what I in contact with, they said, Germany, they are expecting from Germany to really react in a hard way, to send back all these people, really, because they say these people understand this kind of procedures, not a good words.
OK, we have seen the German government making its first move in that respect. Maissun, you at the top of the show, we had you saying that the atmosphere in Germany is now toxic after Cologne.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, I've been there in Cologne a couple of days after the New Year's Eve, and I was in Kalk, it's the Arab neighborhood. I felt the fear they are feeling now. They feel like they are potential victims not victims, of they are, the society is blaming them as a whole for that which happened at the New Year's Eve. On the other side, you have the German society, which came to München or Munich central station and received all these migrants with flowers and teddy bears. And look what happens. So we have 2 group of people with high, well, let's say, with high fears from each others, and with very few information or, let's say, understanding of each other's.
Malaiz, a very
disgusting events. I mean, what we lack right now is the lack of self-reflection, the lack of soul-searching within our communities. I can tell you from my experience within the Afghan community, there's no soul-searching, and that's disgusting. So Afghans here have to step up and say, what happened? Why did it happen? Who are the culprits? It's not only the
But they are not responsible for what happened. They are not responsible.
But there is the blame. At least they can rebuff the blame.
We can't say that Germans are responsible for the refugee camps.
I hear the music. Tell me quickly.
Well, Germans are not responsible for setting a fire in refugee camps, and in the same
but there is soul searching within the German society. If these 3 people kill 11 Arabs and Turks, there's so much of soul searching.
Well, let's play individuals.
Okay.
That's my word.
Amir, we've got to stop there. I'm afraid we've got to stop. One final word.
Europe, in the end, should tackle the problem itself in the countries.
Where are we? Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on this week's edition of Quadriga. Join us next week if you've enjoyed the show. Thanks and bye-bye.